So good now. We're getting there. We're getting there. So let's come back to the game controller, and we need to work on the update statement a little more. Okay, so what I want to do next is find out if the player has actually started the game. So if player started is false, then we need to actually start the game now. Let me just come down here. So if it's false, what I want to do is call a coroutine, which we haven't built yet, and we'll just call it playround. There we go. Now, playround doesn't exist yet, but it soon will. And what I also want to do is, after I've played the round, then set player started to be true. Okay, so what does this do? The game first starts, and the default trackable event handler says that it's the true false is indeed false. We then find the image target, and this becomes true, and because it's in the update statement, then it will loop over this code over and over. Now it will hide the start panel, and then it will show all the items for the screen so that we can actually play the game. Now if this is the first time it's started, then the player won't have seen the text that will pop up on the screen to say round 1, shoot 3 ducks. I'm just going to so it will actually play that effect. So it will actually call the play round function that we haven't actually built yet, but we're going to in a second. And then it will say that the player has started. So let's create this play round function now that we're going to call the first time the game actually runs. So it's a coroutine, so obviously we need an I enumerator. So let's pop it down here. Let's have a public I enumerator, and I'm just going to steal the name of the function just to avoid any typos. And then we're just going to create the play round function here. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is yield and return new wait for seconds, and we'll just wait for a couple of seconds before we actually set the round text target text. Now, if you remember the round text target text, it's actually the text that says shoot X amount of ducks. So that means that we need to go inside and actually set the text value of that string. Now, what do we want to set it to? Well, at the minute it says shoot 3 ducks on the screen. If I just have a quick look, there we go, shoot 3 ducks. Now, this needs to be dynamic. It's fine if for the first round it says shoot 3 ducks, but then what happens if we want to change any variables or we go into any further rounds? Now up here is the round target score. So what I'm going to do is break out of the string like so, and then I'm going to add the round target score in between like so. Okay. Now, as it stands right now, when the game first runs, the round text appears. So we do need to show and hide it in this, well, we did need to show and hide it in this area here. Now we have a new function. What we're going to do is actually create an animation. If I activate the round text so that we can see it, there we go. What I'm going to do now is create an animation that plays up here, which immediately starts as soon as the round text becomes active, and then we're going to hide it after a few seconds. So what I want you to do is click on the animation tab while round text is selected. Now if you can't see this or it's somewhere else, window and animation right there. Okay, now what we're going to do while round text is selected, and remember all these other ones are child items, so whatever we do to this one will happen to all the kids. Now, create an animator here. Okay, I'll just call it round anim and save it. Now we've got a timeline, and these are seconds across the top. So this 1 is 1 second. Now, what I want you to do is click on the record button, and we're just going to copy the component as it stands right now. Okay, now After a second, I want this round text to appear up here. So if I drag this up, if I click here first on the timeline, as soon as I start to drag, it will create a keyframe in the animator. There we go. So I want this to go from the bottom and slide up the screen over the time period of 1 second. Now if I press play, I can see that happen. There we go. Okay, that's cool, but how about if we go to the beginning of the timeline and I also rotate the text 180 degrees. Oops, sorry. Rotation is here, so I'm going to rotate it a 180. Now watch what happens. It's reversed as it goes up. So let's click on the last frame and reset the rotation back. Press play, and we have spinning text. Fantastic. Okay, stop the recording, stop the animation, and go back to the beginning, and then hide that text item again. Okay, now this animation will play all the way through, and at the minute it's set to loop. So let's go into the animator while it's selected, while the text is selected, double click, and take loop off. Okay, save the file and come back to the scene. That means that it will only play through once and then stop. So if we go to the game controller, what I want you to do is take out the show items for the actual round text here and delete it from the hide. And now I want to place it here inside the play round. That means that animation will, the animation will play as soon as the game object is on the scene. Now, if we left it where it was, then we won't see the animation. It will happen while we're holding up the image target and Vuforia is kicking in. If we put it here, then the coroutine play round has control over activating that GUI round text. And that means that the animation will play, but only when the user is ready. So let's press play again and watch the difference. So there we go, everything's fine. And then when I bring the image target in, like so, the round text appears. Nice, very cool. Could do with a bit of a sound though, so let's have a look at the game controller again. And we have a start jingle. Well, let's create a function now that can play the sound effects. So let's go up here to around the start function. So the audio's here. I'm going to create another function just for playing the sound effects. So let's call it play effects. There we go. And all what this is going to do is get a hold of the audio. Oh, sorry, it needs an integer to pass in as the sound. And now what it needs to do is get a hold of the audio and assign the correct clip. So audio.clip equals, from the clips array up at the top, I want to play the sound effect that I've passed in. So we're just repeating what we've done previously. And then on the following line, we just need to play the clip. I also need to tell it what type of function it is. So let's just write the word void in there. And now we've got a function called play effects. So let's jump back to the round and let's play the effect in slot 1, well, which is 0 to the computer. If I grab hold of the image target again, here we go, the game boots up. I hold the image target up and now we should get the jingle as the round text slides up. Now we're getting places. Okay, well, we don't want the text to stay there, so why don't we wait a few seconds and then remove it? And the best way to do that is with another coroutine. So let's jump back into the game controller. And here we're going to call another coroutine that will simply hide the round text again, like so. Okay, so I'm going to copy the name, and right below it, let's just create another, well, it can be private actually, this one, IE numerator, called hide round text, like so. And all it needs to do is get a hold of the GUI round text and hide it after it's waited for a couple of seconds for the user to actually read the message. And wait for seconds. Let's wait for, I don't know, let's give it about 4 seconds on the screen. Save the file and jump back, and let's just make sure that that's working as we want it to. So nothing should appear once it boots up. There we go. Okay, hold up the image target. In comes there's a jingle. 3 or 4 seconds, and that will disappear. Ah! The curse of copy paste. Don't forget to change that to say false. Now let's try it. This is the reason why I try everything every few minutes, just to make sure I've not messed something up accidentally. Come on then, boot up. Here we go. So, round text, and it's gone. Cool, nice one. Right, so the shells are still missing from the screen. Look, if I hold up the image target, look, the shells aren't there. So that's what we need to address now. What I'm going to do is go back to the game controller, and after we have the hide round text, doesn't matter where you guys put this in the code, by the way, as long as it's not inside the start function, we're going to make a public void that's called show shells. Okay. Now what this is going to do is it's going to check how many shots we've actually got left, and if the shots in the round are 3 remaining, then what I want to do is get the shells. Now if you remember, shells is an array of the 3 shells. So from that, I want to get the first one in the array and set it to be active like so. Okay. Now if we've got 3 shots, then all 3 shells need to be visible. So let's just copy that and do a 0, 1, 2, which will actually activate all the 3 shells. Okay, now what happens if we've got 2? Well, else, if we only have 2 shots per, there we go, threw me off guard, shots in the round, then what I want to do is only show 2. So the third one will be false, like so. And finally, if, put a space here, if the shots in the round are 1 remaining, then we only want to show 1 of these. So I'll grab you 3, paste you here, and set you to be false as well. So we'll only be showing the first shell. Okay, all we have to do now is give this a run after we've actually called this function. So when we show all the items, let's show all the shells. There we go, nice and easy. So let's press play again, and nothing should appear. In a second, there we go, and bang, 3 shells. Okay, now we haven't hooked up the fire button to reduce the number yet. So I can fire and they will still remain on the scene. I just want to shoot the duck one time. There we go. Okay, so now let's make it so that the actual shells reduce based on the gun.